Good morning. We are on day 5 of the Advent Vlogmas extravaganza, and I got ready for you last night with our first Christmas ornament. It's a poinsettia. The kit with this Olympus gives you plenty of thread, but it only told me to do these little gold lines, just a teeny tiny thing. And that's not very fun. So last night I took the turquoise, and I'm going to hold this up close. I took this turquoise leaf and it's kind of minty green. I covered it with the turquoise yarn in a long and short stitch. I took the gold and I did a little outline stitch to do the gold sparklies. I took the red and I did an outline stitch around each of the red layers or leaflets of the poinsettia, and then I did the red also around the center pink flower. And then finally I took beads and I put them in the center section. Oh, and we were supposed to do French knots in the center section, I believe, but I didn't want to. I wanted beads there. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do, I saved a little bit for everybody. I saved a little bit to show you the stitches on this because I figured them out ahead of time. Planning ahead, that's the thing, huh? I have added seed beads and I have these little sort of metallic rainbow-eyed yellow seed beads. And so they are what I'm using for the center of this. I do sell beads at the store. I do not know if they're online right now. I need to go have a chat or go have a look in my stash. But these are the older ones. I think I've given most of these away. These are probably the stragglers. But I do have actually proper gold ones that you could put at the center of this. I just happened to find these by my computer. I'm going to flip you down to show you how to slide. All right. So I have just slid the seed bead over my needle, and these fit. These are the size small ones, not the larger ones. Slide the seed bead over my needle like that, down onto it, and just stitch it straight onto the center circles. And I did not go right through the center. I went on one side, and then I'm going to throw my thread down on the other side of the circle. So sort of make a diameter line with your thread and tighten it up and flick it with your finger to get it to lay the way you want. So it gives it some dimensionality and gives you a little bit of a 3D effect. I don't know if tipping it to the side helps you see that, but that is the center motif. Now I'm going to just tie a little knot in the back. I am not worrying about my back on this, so I'm not trying to, I'm tying knots on the end of my thread. I'm doing all the bad things that we're not supposed to do on the back of our work when we embroider, including using my teeth to break the thread off because I didn't bring my scissors over here. I'm doing all the bad things because this is going to get turned into a little pillow. So there's no reason to worry about it. No reason at all. But let's do a little bit of the gold next. I have one bit of gold left to do. And it's the outline stitch, so you'll also get a refresher on that. And again, I'm going to tie a knot. Have you guys learned how to tie a knot? Let me get my fingers in the page here. So the way I tie a knot is grab the needle with your forefinger and your thumb, wrap it around your forefinger, and then roll it off and slide down. And that will form a knot at the end of your thread so that you can hide it in the back. Now remember, if this is something that's going to lay flat that I don't want to see on the back of my work, then I'm going to do I'll do a backstitch. But I'm playing sloppy with this thing because it's not going to show. It's going to be completely covered. All right, I'm going to turn my work because I'm working this way, and I always hold if I'm going to do a line of backstitch, I hold it horizontally so that I can take these double bites. So there we go. Take a stitch, slide it in, and then pull it and line it up. And then I'm going to go, you don't actually go completely straight. I kind of go a little bit of an angle so that it's as slim a line as possible. Now, did you hear that vibration? This metal thread is a bit rustic. Let's say it's rustic. There, I could have done that first stitch a little shorter, but that's the gold line. And we could embellish this even more. I could do an outline around the long and short stitch, all kinds of stuff. But these are supposed to be fun little short embroideries that you can get done in an evening. So I'm going to do that one. Now I'm going to show you the long and short stitch in that last little leaf out of the turquoise. So the last thing we're going to do is the long and short stitch. I put one stitch halfway down to divide this leaf into two sections, just so we keep our stitching straight. If you look at my first leaf when I didn't do that, it was a bit sloppy, a little crooked, they weren't lined up. So dividing the leaf into a center, front, one side and the other side helps a lot. It doesn't mean that I can't sneak my thread along there to go to the other side. I don't have to break it off before I move to the other side. So there's that, and then I'm going to go over here and do the other half. And I'm not trying to save thread here. I've got plenty of thread in this kit, so it'll be fine. There. Oh, and it looks like I left a bit of a gap, so this is fine. I'll go over this end.
Feeling alone, kinda misty, waiting now for you to come. It's cold again, but I know we'll be warm, sitting by the fire and dream. Tell me again with a whisper, little things that I wanna hear, and the stars up above are smiling when they see you holding me so near. I see snowflakes on the chimneys, and the candles have a certain glow, a secret and a song, even church bells sing along, and the chill.
But I'm not going to get loose and floppy thread. Just try to go just a couple of threads over with every stitch so that this is nice and filled. You don't want gaps between your stitches. I also try to stay away from the previous stitching so that I don't catch it. I think I might, no, I didn't there. I think I did at one point right back over here. See, that doesn't look as nice as when you stay away and just butt it straight up next to it. There, done that. So now I want to sneak over to the other side. I'm just going to run my thread right through here, hidden under the stitches, and then I can start working on the other side. Oh, let's do this over here. All right, now I'm about lined up with the tip of that poinsettia leaf, or poinsettia flower leaflet, and I can start doing the other half of that blue leaf.
Making angels in the snow. Oh, what a gift to be given. How lucky can this old heart be? And I fall into peace and silence on a very special Christmas Eve.
go. All right, that motif is embroidered. There you go. Done. Now I just have to stitch it with its back, and we have the back here. So we've got a green back, and we have a front, and it looks like they do this in an envelope-y way. So now that my embroidery is complete, we're going to sew this together. And I cut both out, trying to leave as much of a margin as I can. Be careful, because there's a spot right here where that is all the space. Right here, that was all the space I had. So it's down to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to have to be very careful when I stitch there that I make it wide enough. The back of this one, and I figured out why, they have you fold this down and you're going to do your stuffing from the back and then anchor it closed. And mostly that happens because doing a smooth circle and trying to finish your finish after you've stuffed it, to finish it and make it look flat, this is the best place. So they divided these two in half. And what you do, divide them in half, open up the back, just do a simple fold over the halfway mark, and they've given us a line for that. And then I just did a back stitch from the right side so that it looked nicer to hem this stitch down. So I'm doing that right now. And I've got it, I pinned it down, but we don't need this right now. So you're just going to do a back stitch. And a back stitch is, you go back and then forward a bit beyond where your last stitch was, and then go back to where your last stitch was. And I have matching thread this time, so it's a bit hard to see this. I'll put it up close for you. Forward beyond where you did your last stitch, and then back to where you started the previous one, and then beyond, and then your next stitch goes in right where you ended the one before. The back looks pretty crowded and messy because you're going over each of those twice. But the front looks tidy because it just looks like a straight row of stitching in and out, in and out. Now, it's not crucial that you do a back stitch along here, but I thought that I'd use this opportunity to show you what a back stitch looked like. So we back stitch across, trying to keep a straight line. On the first half, these polka dots lined up quite nicely, so it helped me cut my straight line because you can go from dot to dot to dot. This time, my hem stitch is happening right in between them, so I'm just eyeballing it. If you're worried, draw a line. You can use heat-sensitive ink pens or erasable ink pens, and when you heat them up, the ink disappears. And so you can use those. There are also felt tip markers type that work for that. There, I'm going a little crooked because I'm away from... Normally I work right up underneath my eyes. I'm extremely nearsighted. So normally I work right up close to my face. It's a bit of a challenge for me to put this far away from me. There we go. And again, you know how I said before I kind of roll things over my finger? I do that from all my hand stitching. So a back stitch, just right across there. And again, this is not something, and look, I've gotten myself up on the polka dots. So I have gone a little bit crooked. I'm trying to keep you in view here. I've gone a little bit crooked, but again, this is a Christmas ornament, and this is the back of the Christmas ornament, so this is not imperative. Can you tell I'm not a super perfectionist? Sometimes I feel like I am with some of my hand stitching, but this is, you're not going to really see this. Do you see my stitching? So across, almost all the way. And a little knot. There we go. So that is hemmed. We've just folded that over. I didn't even double it over because, again, I'm going to stitch this closed. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is take this half and lay it here, and it should probably match up evenly, which it does. So see, I've got a gap right there, and that's where I'm going to put my batting in to stitch it closed. So I'm preparing another knot. I've done this. I am going to pin this on. Let me put this out on my knee. I'm going to pin this on just to keep it lined up, because I don't want to have, goodness sakes, I don't want to have a gap between these two. But I'm going to stitch from the front because, and I'll show you why. See that line right there? I want to make sure I'm just inside it. And that means I've got to stitch from the other side of this ornament. There. So you can, I could mark this, but I can also see it. I can see the faint line of it through my fabric. It's right there. So, and this is what I did on the last half, because I did prepare ahead for you. I'm just going to put this on my knee. Hopefully you can see it. If I put it right there, you should be able to see it. And this, I'll show you yet a new stitch. This is called the running back stitch. And this is how I do all my mock-up stitches, is I do a back stitch, and then I take 3, I put my needle in and out 3 times, stitch, do a back stitch, and then run 3 times. 1, 2, 3. This is not as strong as a full-on back stitch, but it's also not as easy to tear out as a full-on basting stitch or a running stitch. So it's sort of a nice in-between stitch that gives you strength. I use this stitch. Just a minute, I have to spit on to thread my needle here. I use this as my basting stitches when I do my dresses, my mock-ups. I also, boy, I might need my needle threader. This is being cantankerous. I also will use the running basting, or the running back stitch on the seams of my finished dresses if I'm stitching by hand, that don't take much pressure or wear and tear. So for example, boy, this is just foiling me. I've got a little slip knot there. Let's see if I can get this to pull out. There we go. Say a side seam on a skirt that isn't going to be pulling against my hips very much, or a bodice, or sewing, basting in before I put in a zipper, or a hem, things like that. Those kind of stitches aren't going to take that much, a high hem, not one that's down by the floor that I could actually catch with my feet. Those are the kinds of stitches that I will use a running back stitch for, because it's an in-between strength. Okay. I am, oh my goodness, I am almost around, but I keep pulling the thread out. I'm actually really cold right now because we just went out and about to visit my granddaughter, and then to go pick up something in Forest Grove, and the car was freezing because it's really cold outside. Not snowy cold, just cold. Whenever we get sunshine, we get cold as well. Oh, this is down a little far. See, and this is the reason to mark it. So I got a little overzealous going in. So I'm going to tear this back. And, you know, does it matter? No, it's fine. I want to have a straight, I want my circle to be round. I do care about that. So I'm going to back this out and see if I can fix. Part of the shadow I'm following is the circle. Oh, and this is shifted a little bit. Darn it. Here, let's do this like this. There. That should fix that a little bit. And we'll, I'm fumbling a lot. My fingers are numb from the cold. Can you tell I don't like, well, I like to winter in Arizona, so that's a big tip off as to my feelings about winter. I like warm places. All right, let's cross my knee and get you in this picture again. There we go. All right, let's get this more. And check this one's, so this is that scant 1/8 of an inch. I've just hit that corner, which is why I was popping in, because I was keeping that edge a little further in than reality. There we go. And out. And done. Just do a little knot because this is not going to be seen, as I've said a couple times before. There. Okay. We have a finished ball. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, well, first I'm going to make sure that I've hit my, I'm going to flip this out and just make sure that I have no lines exposed. That came really close, but I think we're okay. I can press that. I'm going to press this flat. And the reason you want to do that is to really embed that stitching in there and make it evened out a little bit. It's kind of like blocking your knitwear. The next thing I'm going to do after that is get a sharper scissors than that, but I'm going to just notch the curves on this. And I could take a little nip out, but notching is good enough. I may trim this one because this one's a bit deeper. But I'm going to just put some little notches in there just to help this fold in and not be poofy or uneven and lumpy. And then I will stuff it. Oh, and I have a loose bit. Looks like, oh, too close to the edge. See, and that's happening right there. Oh, no, what happened is I accidentally stitched my thread. So we'll be fixing that. But we'll fix this and I'll pop back in when it's stuffed. All right, we're back. I've turned this out. I've pressed it. There is definitely some fiddling I can do around the edges to poof it out and push it back in to make it rounder. And I may even, I kind of fancy a blanket stitch around the outside right now, but let's start closing up the back. So if you see, I've got this sandwich, got this mouth yawning open here, and I need to close it. I also notice that this hasn't quite gone all the way into the outside. So I'm going to take care of this at the same time. And remember that blind hem stitch I showed you? Well, it comes into play right here again. That's exactly how you close an opening, is you pull on that side, you go on that side, travel across. Instead of traveling just on one side of your work though, you're going to slide into the fold and travel along both sides. So now I'm going to go to the next side and I'm going to go along, pull that tight, and now it's time to close this, now that I've kind of closed that opening on the side. So we're going to go into the fold, travel along. Well, actually, let's take a bite at the fold first. There, and then cut across. Get this one. And the goal is that you try to keep your stitches parallel. So now if I'm going to pull this tight, I want to make my next stitch be directly across from the exit hole on the other side. And that's the key to making it disappear. When you take off at an angle, that's when you start seeing your stitches. So then I'm going to pull that one up and I'm going to go directly across and go to the other side. And that'll help close it up. Again, I'm not using contrasting thread this time because you really don't want to see these stitches. There. Now another thing I could have done here is pin these two together like this. That also helps if I sort of make lips out of them. When I let go, they will pop back open. But for stitching purposes and to help me keep my stitches parallel to each other, I'm saying parallel, but directly across. The fabric is parallel, but these stitches, we want to have at right angles, and I want them to line up like a pair, like teeth, back and forth and back and forth. There. And I didn't overstuff this. I could have put more in, but I really don't like a super poofy thing. The other thing I could have done, and maybe I'll do the next circle using paper piecing methods, because what you can do is you could take these circles, and if you want them perfectly round without this little wobbly, you can insert a piece of cardboard in here. These are never going to be washed. So I can use a piece of cardboard, identically cut, 2 pieces of cardboard, and I can sew these circles around that cardboard and make a perfect circle. I use that method. It's very much like English paper piecing, only I'm doing it for applique, not piecing. But, well, in a sense I am piecing the 2 circles together. But it makes a nice, firm, crisp, round edge. And the hardest part, honestly, is getting the circle drawn. Often you use a glass or a spool, or nowadays they have the paper cutting templates that are, Skizzix is a brand. There are a couple of brands out there, and I'll put both of the brands in the info below. But they help tremendously getting perfectly aligned, perfectly cut shapes in the format you want. But all this can be done by hand. You don't necessarily need gadgets just to accomplish what you want. There's that one. And then we have just about closed this ornament. Here, I'm going to do a little reinforcing out here on the edge again, because I see that there are issues where I didn't anchor this side down well enough. So I'm just going to go around and straighten this out. There we go. There is our little ornament. Now I'm going to hide my knot by making a little knot like that, but then taking my needle, putting it through the edge of the fabric and giving it a tug so that knot gets buried on the inside, not out on the edge of my work. That's an old quilter's technique. Now the question is, do I want to put a blanket stitch around this, or am I happy with this the way it is? What do you think? Should I leave it? I'm going to go get some of the gold thread, and I'm going to build a hanger right here. Or I may dig through my ribbon and see if I can find a ribbon that matches as well. My stick fell last night, and it wasn't even the command hook that I thought it would be. It was the other one. So I'm going to have to put nails into the wall. So I will go hammer that back up, not on camera, and get a button stitch on there so that we can hang our first ornament up, and I will cut back to you when that's done. Alrighty, it's done. It's reattached to the wall. I did add a blanket stitch to the edge of the ornament, and I'll do it again so that you guys will be able to, I'll show you how to do a blanket stitch. So I've got, I think, 2 or 3 more of the, or at least 1 more of the circular ones, but I don't have to just stick to circular. I may decide to put it on all of them. But I will flip you around and we will hang this ornament up. All right, here is a reacquaintance, is my wall on a branch with ribbons and birds. And I have put 1 button on, just an FYI. I just discovered that I should have probably anchored all of the buttons on ahead of time with spacing so that I know to put the ornament on. But here is ornament number 1. Beads in the center added, outline stitch added, long and short stitch, fill stitch added, blanket stitch added. There you go. Ornament number 1 is placed. Subscribe, ring the bell, comment, hit the like button, whatever it takes, because you know it really helps us with the channel. Bye!